Welcome everyone, I'm Sylvia Kozrzak with Walkabout Canine Consulting, and thanks for joining me on this house training help for your puppy and your dog. Let's get started. Some of the things that I'm going to cover are health, although I'm not a veterinarian, but I'm going to look at some things that you want to look at, and equipment that'll help you with your puppy learning and managing communication, which is really important in our dog's learning, and inside versus outside, when to take them out, rewards that equal our bank account. We'll talk about seniors a little bit, and special needs. So this section, which is the health section, isn't meant to give you any kind of veterinary advice, but what we do want to look at is the health of your puppy or your dog. So if you're bringing home a new puppy, you do for sure want to make sure that they are getting a health check, even though they may have had one wherever you're getting them from. It's always good to set up that relationship with your veterinarian and get another opinion, make sure everything is good, they've been dewormed as well. Dogs that are having house training issues, you want to make sure everything's okay. So health related issues can lead to lapses in house training or the inability to be house trained. So those are things to consider as well. Certain health conditions just make it so dogs can only hold it for so long. So that's a big consideration. And we're not going to talk about dogs that are displaying separation anxiety, which does cause them to have some house training struggles. And if they are showing or displaying some separation anxiety behaviors, do make sure that there isn't any physiological issues that are causing that. And we're not going to talk about behavior issues in this group. So, you'll want to consult with a behavior specialist for that. So just again, going through the checklist, puppies and newly adopted dogs should have a health check, including deworming, and sudden lapses in house training need to be checked with your veterinarian. As I said, some health conditions will cause house training problems either from the condition itself or from the stress of the health condition. And you do want to look at then, if those things are ruled out, that possibly there are some stress behaviors happening within the household, and that falls under behavior. So again, you want to consult with a behavior specialist. Medication, so there's lots of medications. Maybe your dog is on a new medication or has been taking a medication. So again, consult with your veterinarian and make sure that there are no side effects that may contribute some to your dog's house training or washroom habits. Senior dogs, we're going to talk in another group. So simple recipe for success in house training is set your goal. Where do I want my dog to go to the bathroom? Is it inside or outside? So preferably most of us do like the outside option, and set your dog up for success. So take them out often, and then when they're inside, you want 100% supervision. So, and that's where your management tools are going to come into play for that. And you want to make sure that you're reinforcing your dog for going to the bathroom. It does have to happen rather quickly for your dog to make the connection. So we can't talk to our animals. They don't speak English, although they can definitely learn communication words. So, but best is to make sure they are getting those rewards within a couple of seconds of them going to the washroom. So, and you want to repeat often, and anywhere you take your dog for a visit, you want to practice that as well. So, yeah. And hey, leashes are important, so they will help you in your dog training success. So leashes help us take our dogs to the spot that they need to go to the bathroom, and stop them from running away for distractions. Leashes also help us inside the house. So for some dogs that have come from environments where they have had no choice but to go to the bathroom wherever they are. Using a leash and keeping it attached to you does help with those incidences where perhaps going into an Xpen or a crate might not be a good option, but using a leash as an umbilical cord, and that way you do have 100% supervision, and likely your dog is going to start communicating to you, maybe tugging on the leash. So that is really, really helpful. So we're going to go through some more equipment. Crates. Yes, dogs can learn to love their crates. So if you've got a new puppy, for sure, I hope you're crate training them. It's one of the best things that you can teach your puppy. It has so many benefits. I won't get into it much here because we're talking about house training. But you know, just a couple of things. Keeping your dog safe. It's a calm space. And as far as house training is concerned, it helps prevent accidents. So dogs are pretty typically clean, and they don't want to eliminate in their crate. There are some caveats to that. So they will eliminate if they've been left too long in the crate and they really don't know how to hold it yet. As well, if they're in the crate too long and they really have to go to the bathroom, it could contribute and build some anxiety. So you do want to be careful about that. Certain health conditions, as I mentioned, will prevent them from holding it. So, and again, dogs who come from living conditions where they had to eliminate in their sleeping areas, you know, the crate might be a difficult tool to use at this point, maybe down the road. And then if your crate is too big, your puppy may still decide that, hey, I've got my little bed in this corner, and hey, this is a cool little condo, and I've got room over there in the corner to go to the bathroom. So you do want to have something that is size appropriate so that that doesn't happen. Just some examples. There's so many different types of crates that you can use. The wire crate is nice. You can make covers or just use covers for a little bit more privacy for your puppy. The wire crates are really good because you can drop treats from the back. There's a picture of the nice long furniture type crate, which is really, really nice. That one is often used by people who do some inside potty. So that one is big enough for the little tiny breeds that can have a house and go to the other side, or it's just a nice big crate. So it's pretty cool. There's so many options out there. So you can have a look and see what works for you. And if you have any questions about that, you can just check in with me. Like I say, lots of options. The wire crate is awesome. Some dogs like plastic crates. I personally like to teach my dogs to like to go into any kind of crate. So we've got canvas crates as well, and I will teach them to go into all of them because it's just good for them. You never know what kind of crate they have to go into, so it just creates more flexibility on their part. Gates are awesome. So this will help you with your supervision, and it allows you to close off rooms, which helps again with supervision. And you know, I really urge using 100% supervision if you're not getting house training success. So those that are getting a little bit more success, you can use a gate where you can close off just one room, and if your dog has gone to the bathroom outside, now they can have access to the room, and you can still keep an eye on them. So as well, it keeps your dog from running into other parts of the house, because you don't want them getting into that habit. And behaviors are habits, so we don't want them practicing any of those. So there's lots of different styles you can choose, whichever suits your home. So I realize there's a lot of open concept homes with living spaces. So, you know, there's ones that you can attach to doors. You don't necessarily have to screw them on. Some of them have tension bars. You see this one here. It's a pretty wide one, so that's nice, and it's quite attractive. You can go to Wayfair and you know, PetSmart, have a look around because there's a lot of great options that you can use. Xpens is another item that I like to use, and yes, I do use Xpens and gates. So these can serve if you really have an open air space and you really can't find that baby gate. You can use those, and you can set up an Xpen to any size and have your dog in there. Usually they're a little more suitable to the smaller size dogs, and some owners will use them outside as well if they want to keep them contained and they don't have a fenced yard. They can use them in there. So when you have to work outside the home, this is another tool that you can use if you have to use a long-term solution while you're at work. And it's also great for, I've had clients that were living in apartment situations where it was an absolute necessity for them to learn to go to the bathroom in the apartment. It's not my first recommendation, but I realize a lot of clients, depending on their, like I say, their living situation, and we can set up a Xpen as a potty station. It's also, like I say, a safe place for your long-term confinement. You know, we can use pet sitters, neighbors, and family members to help with our long-term solutions. So, and it's also a great for young families that, and I see there's a typo, it can serve as a safe space. So if you have a young family, you can either put the child within an Xpen, because there's lots of options that are used for toddlers, or you can actually have your dog inside there, and if your child is playing, that way your dog doesn't have to be completely penned away, and can be within the family and safe, and there's no problems of toddler chirping or accidentally grabbing, and your dog has an opportunity to practice just laying calmly with everybody. So here are some nice different options. As you see, there's so many that can be pretty, that fit for you, and you will want to see what works for your family. So leashes, as I said, this is a really important piece of equipment. You want to have it ready at your back door so you can lead your dog or your puppy to the area that you would like it to go to the bathroom. It's nice to go back to the same spot, because what happens is if they are eliminating there, it will have the smell, so it further encourages them for that. It also stops your dog from running away. If it's windy and there's a leash blowing, or they hear a noise and they get distracted, then they run, and you don't want that. So the leash will allow you just to keep walking around and focus on the task at hand. So the movement is an important factor in that, as it will help stimulate the bladder and bowel. And then usually what happens when they have to go, then you can start slowing down. You'll see your puppy starting to sniff, and then you know, standing still and giving them the opportunity to eliminate will help with that. So yeah, leashes are really important. As I said, you can use them inside the house. So food, this is big. So food equals reinforcement, and all animals have to eat. So let's use some of your dog's daily calories. It's the fastest way to get your dog training results that you want. So you can save some of your dog's kibble if you aren't already. It's something that I do recommend in training. So it's kind of boring to always get it out of the bowl every day. So we can use lots of reinforcement opportunities to train for behaviors that we want. So the behavior we want is them to go outside. So it's like putting money in the bank every time they get reinforced for doing that thing within a couple of seconds, that they're gonna make the connection. So, you know, you can simply portion out your dog's daily food, add some treats if they are entitled to treats during the day, and they will get this to earn for potty. You can keep a pot by the back door or the front door, wherever, but this is crucial for teaching your dog where to go to the bathroom. So that's just an example. I have small dogs, so that's just a portion, and there's a pot. It doesn't matter what kind of pot you use. And yeah, so have it ready to go. So indoor stations, this is an example of some, and this is a website where you can get some. There's a lot of options. If you do need to use an indoor station, I don't recommend pee pads. I know they're really, really popular. I don't like them just because they are absorbent, so that's awesome, but it will sometimes dogs have a hard time understanding pee pad versus carpeting. And yeah, you know, many of us have seen that dogs like to go onto carpet because they do understand that it's absorbent. So there's a lot of options where you can use indoor stations, and you can get substrates that are that feel like grass, so they figure that out, and it has their smell. I like to get my dogs outside as fast as possible, but this is an option, and you can set this inside your long-term confinement area when your dog has no other choice. But you know, if they're being left and they need to go to the potty, so this is an option until they're old enough to hold it and they can be taken outside. So I talked about bank account equals reinforcement. So reinforcement builds behavior, so I'm going to touch on that. And this is where the real learning happens. So I like to refer this, as I said, to building up your savings account. Well, your dog savings account. So they will understand that when they're getting a cookie for going pee or poop, right where they are, within 2 to 3 seconds, that hey, this is how I get those reinforcements. So basic learning involves reinforce me for a behavior, keep reinforcing me, and I will start to repeat the behavior. So that is the law of learning, and it's basic science. So, and let's use it. We don't want to wait to reinforce our dogs when we get inside the house, because that's too far away. I'm not opposed to you not reinforcing them when they get inside the house, because it's actually teaching them that behavior, but it's not necessarily teaching them the behavior of going potty outside. There are some dogs that will make that connection, but it's usually not. And we want to use a high value reinforcer, but if you're using the kibble, it should be high value enough if they're learning to earn their food. Obviously, we don't want to starve our dogs, and kibble should be high value enough. So if it's not, then your dog may be telling you they're not interested in the kibble that you're feeding them. So just because you've chosen a kibble doesn't mean that dogs will like it. But typically I have, when we're starting our puppies out, puppies shouldn't be fussy with their kibbles. Dogs maybe, because they've learned to be able to do that, but like I say, you can mix in some treats with the kibble and they'll absorb the different flavors. And you know, if we use a lot for learning, they'll start to take it out of your hand. And you know, the timing is an important factor in learning. So we've got 2 seconds for fast learning to happen. That's how we give feedback. So, and while your pup is going, you can give a soft, calm, good. I don't recommend making it too hyper, because they could stop and they're not finished, and you go inside and then they have to finish when they're out there. So yeah, so that's one of my dogs going to the bathroom, and good, and I've given him a good, and he gets a cookie. Good. Words matter. So it's communication, and why is teaching your dogs words or signals helpful in the learning process? And like I say, dogs don't come understanding our language, but we definitely can teach them potty words. So I I've been teaching clients for a really long time. I've potty trained a lot of dogs, and I find this a huge factor in helping your puppy or dog learn what you need it to do. So basically, we are teaching sound associations. It doesn't matter which word you choose for potty training, pee, poo, whatever feels comfortable for you. I do use separate words for my dogs, and they do understand the two different ones. I also teach them, do you need to go outside? And I will, as we start, let's go make pee-pees outside, take my dog outside. We go to the spot and then go make pee-pees in a really soft tone. The reason I say let's go make pee-pees outside is they will start making a connection to all that as they're learning. So eventually you can use those words if you, and this is after your dog is actually house trained, where you can ask them, you know, if you notice that they're being antsy or anything, do you need to go make pee-pees or poo-poos outside? I've done this, and usually what I find is dogs just go running to the door whining or barking because they understand what I'm asking. So, but that is down the road. But like I say, the communication part is critical. And let's see if this plays.
Who has to go make pee-pees outside? Yeah, Emma, do you have to go make pee-pees outside? Let's go. Good girl.
So they know what that
Good
means.
job.
And running to the door. I will, you know, like I say, teach go pee. Let's see.
Let's go. Go make pee-pees.
So I'm taking Liam outside. And he's going. I've asked him to go pee. And because he's gone, I am going to definitely reinforce him right there for that. So some dogs, sometimes if they're hesitant to go outside because of the weather, but they really need to go, having this potty on command word is so helpful because say it's raining out and you want to go to the grocery store and you know your dogs haven't been out for a while, you can take them out, and because they've learned the communication, they know what you're asking of them. We travel a lot with our dogs, so having them understand the potty words is crucial, because now we can ask them when we stop for a break that let's go make pee-pees, and they know what's going on. So the communication part is really, really helpful. It's helpful if you go to somebody else's house, because just because they're house trained at your house doesn't mean they understand where the washroom is there. So outside versus inside, we need to know where we want our dogs to go. And I do realize that inside is sometimes a necessity, but for the most part, when I'm working with owners, if outside is the ultimate goal, that's what you want to start right from the get-go. You want them to learn the concept, and you want to teach them that immediately in order to get success. So paper training and pad training can hinder the learning and confuse. So now we're like inside versus outside. Like I say, sometimes when we need long-term confinement areas, then obviously, you know, using the Xpens or larger crates and then using a different type of potty system will help you with that. So actually teaching your dogs to go on different substrates is important, because you never know where you're going to find yourself. So if your dog has only ever gone on grass and now you want them to go on cement, they may find it difficult. So it is nice as a puppy to get them used to going on different surfaces. My dogs do. They'll go on sand, they'll go on gravel, grass and mulch, and just make sure you're reinforcing them for going on there. When seasons turn, you've got snow coming, so then you will want to keep the reinforcements there. So I do as the seasons change, just for just reminding them. So that's a good thing to do. In the end, dogs will find their preferences. I mean, all animals find their preferences of, we do too. If we have multiple bathrooms in our house, I think many of us have our favorite bathroom that we like to use. So like I said, inside house training is not my favorite, but I do understand there are many people who need to do that, typically with the really small dogs, and that's okay. They may find themselves in settings where going out to the bathroom outside their condo or apartment is not a safe solution, and some people do it on purpose because they they have teacup dogs and they have a really good setup and they have a good system and they follow the rules of learning where the dog is getting reinforced. They're still supervising the dog, so they understand where they have to go. I've had clients where they travel with their dogs and some airports have potty rooms, or they don't. They can take their dog and go into the bathroom and put down a paper and tell them to go to the bathroom. So those are not typical. And let's talk about how often we have to take our dogs out. So I will discuss how often, and typically when you get a little dog, little puppy, you want to go out every hour. So puppies will need to go more often if they've just woken from a nap, they've just eaten, they've had a big drink. So they've chewed or a foraging toy, or they've just played. So I have seen younger puppies have to go as often as every 15 minutes, and that is just because they've been really active, they've had lots of drinks, and so you do want to be careful about that. So whatever comes in must go out. And remember, you should be making the decision for taking puppies and dogs outside if they're not housebroken. Even if your dog has started signaling to go out, you will want to keep helping your dog make the right choice by taking them out regularly. And you want to remember, smaller dogs, smaller breeds have smaller bladders while they are maturing. And again, like I say, some dogs from certain living situations have learned to go to the bathroom in their own cage. So they do need really strict guidelines and strict supervision. Senior dogs need some really good routines so that they don't break their house training routine. So I will talk about that in the senior section. So if your dog is sleeping, you do not want to wake a sleeping dog or a puppy unless it's absolutely necessary. Bedtime or need to leave for some time. If you do not push, poke, or pick up your puppy before they are awake. You could be creating a dog that will get grumpy. Okay, instead, just clap, say their name. If they open their eyes, then take a treat and lure them out of their bed. And then if you need to pick them up, if they're really tiny and they can't walk outside, pick them up, show them the treat, or put the leash on and take them outside. So, if you just pick up your puppy from the sleep, it's going to startle them and eventually create a negative association to that, and you don't want that. You don't want a puppy that's going to start growling and snapping at you because you've just picked them up from a sleep. If you're at home, there's no reason for you to wake up a puppy from their sleep. Like I say, typically if it's bedtime and your puppy's already sleeping, or if you need to leave and your dog's having a nap, then obviously you want to make sure that they've gone to the bathroom. Some people like to use bells, and those are great. I don't use them personally, and you can get them from pet stores and hang them on the door so that your dog can signal that they want to go potty. And it is a house training tool. It's an extra step. So it is a way of teaching communication. So, but like I say, it will be an extra step for you to add to your house training procedure. So you want to think about it if you want to do that. Important, if your dog is afraid of the house training bells, then please don't use that. It will just make the house training procedure harder if they're actually afraid of the bells. So, and as well, the other thing to think about if you're using bells is will you need more bells? Will you need to take them when you travel? What if you forget your bells? And so those are things to consider. And can dogs learn not to use the bells? Yeah. Again, it's just another procedure in your house training, which you can complicate it. I also, I know I have 2 dogs, and I know one of my dogs would try and ring the bells to go outside because she loves going outside. So, there is that, and definitely you can ignore them ringing the bell for just wanting to go outside. But again, it's an extra step. You're creating a gray area. But, lots of people have great success using the bells. So, like I say, I just want to give you the information from my experience and the learning theory. So, like I say, it is an extra step. And if you are going to do it, you want to introduce the bells to be something positive and easy to do. So just in the beginning, you need to present the bells at the dog's level. And if they come and investigate, say good and give a treat. So they need to come and investigate. And you just keep repeating that. And then eventually, if they're actually touching the bells with their nose, that's what you want. And you just keep repeating the procedure and telling them good, and give them the treat for touching the nose. Now, and then you can hang the bells on your door, and then every time you go through the door, you want to ring the bell, and your dog will start to understand ringing the bell gets you to go through the door. So bell, then through the door. And you just want to repeat this every time you take them out to the potty. And a lot of puppies will eventually just walk up to the door and bang the bells, especially if you've done the nose targeting part, because they understand that I touch the bell is a good thing. And then if you ring the bell, then go through the door, they will start making that connection as well. And how to proceed depends on the dog. If they understand, let's go outside and make pee, you can cue to touch the bells, and then reward and proceed to go outside. Like I say, some dogs will make that connection and start ringing the bells. If you're using a balcony or a garage as a house training option, then that's somewhere where you can use the bells as well. So that can be a good option for that. Yeah. Yeah, so as I said, then there's the part where ringing the bells is just to go outside. So like I say, you'll have to look at that, and some dogs can be trained not to ring the bells, but it just depends on your dog's personality. And as I say, it is an extra step. So that's why I've given you the information to consider it. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Yeah, there we go. And how do I know when my dog has to go? So we want to remember that we are always going to be making that decision for our dog. And contrary to many owners' belief, not all dogs bark to go outside. They have different ways to communicate that to you, so don't expect the barking. And you want to get to know what that is going to look like for you. I've seen dogs that sit in front of you. They may just stare at you. They could jump on you if you have a little dog and just start licking your face. They can become antsy. They have ants in their pants, which is a very common one. They could start pawing you, or they could bark at you. Remember, until your dog, some dogs will just go and sit in front of the door. And again, it could mean house training. It could mean a dog who loves going outside. So you do want to get to know your dog's communication. And but again, during the house training phase, do not rely on their communication. You want to make that choice for them so that they aren't going to make a mistake. Okay, and taking them out often. So yeah, so don't wait for an accident, set your dog up for success. And you know, you want to pay into that house training. So when is my dog housebroken? How long does it take to housebreak your dog? Well, that's a good question, and it can vary from dog to dog. So nothing is really typical, and keep in mind that dogs are not machines. So you will want to see 3 weeks with 0 accidents. It doesn't mean that they still don't need your help, but it means that they are getting it. And you want to remember to keep taking them out on a regular basis. And you should start noticing how your dog's routine is developing. So, you know, even using a washroom journal can help you and your family to learn about your dog's washroom habits. They will have habits for their bowel movements as well. And if you're still struggling, then go through all the units again. If you've done everything right, then that might be the time where you need to check with your veterinarian. A special note here is a factor in house training is, do they really get it everywhere? Many dogs need to understand the rules in new locations, at your friend's house, your family's house, in a motel. Make sure you show your puppy or your dog, even adult dogs, where the washroom is and reinforce them for going there. This is an important factor. For dogs, you don't want them to get anxious and feel that they need to have a lapse in house training. I do this with all my dogs. Anywhere we go, like I say, I do travel with my dogs. We don't visit houses as much as we used to, but typically if I went to visit somebody, I would go in, hey, how are you? My dogs would be with me, and I say, where's the door to the backyard? We'd go to the backyard, and then I'd let them out, let's go pee-pees, and often, you know, one or both, depending on how many dogs I had, would go, and I'd reinforce them for it. And that way they knew. We stay in motels, and that, again, that's the same thing we do. We unpack our bags, I put their stuff out, and then I say, okay, let's go make pee-pees, and we go to the washroom area. And this is even after, you know, usually before I even take them in the room, I will show them where the washroom is, but I'll get inside the room, I'll unpack some of their things, and then we'll go back to the potty area. We walk around, and that way they know, and they do learn that, and it becomes a routine. So and again, I've got my words that I've taught them. Let's go make pee-pees, which they know, taking them to the potty area, and then they know pee-pee or poo-poo. So it's, you know, the words do matter. And then the same thing, if we hit severe weather, I still have a way to get to tell my dogs that they need to go. You know, if they're older, usually the bowel movements can be kind of held a little bit extra, but often, you know, if they really need to pee, and I've got that, and I say, okay, come on, let's go pee-pees. And they know that we'll get in the car once we're done, they will do that. So yeah, so words do matter. And oh, this is a repeat. Okay, so struggles, breakdown house training struggles is easy. I realize it's not easy for everybody, but which is why I created this house training course. So make sure you've ruled out health issues, and make sure your dog is healthy. And if you're still struggling and there might be some behavior issues, you want to contact a behavior consultant for that. So yeah, and go through the steps. So it's like I say, it's easy, but not always simple. Supervision is a big part of often owners that are struggling. So the words, the reinforcement, and supervision are often what I see, or the time of day. So time of day can have a huge factor. Sometimes, well, dogs are often a little more active in the morning and later afternoon. So you will see them need to drink a little bit more, a little bit more active. So they'll have to go to the potty more, or you're giving them scheduled meals. Often they'll drink a little bit more around that. If it's a young puppy, you can pick up the water, say around 7 o'clock, so that they're not having a big drink before they go to bed. You shouldn't restrict water really for puppies or dogs, because that is, they can go without food, but they can't go without water for a period of time. And fresh water is crucial, especially for puppies, for their development. So, but you know, I have seen some dogs get a little bit over they drink a little too much. So you know, sometimes we have to just put little bits of water in at a time. So I said I'd talk about seniors, and seniors need special consideration with their potty routine. They need help in feeling secure and knowing that they will make it in time to go outside. So this is a special group. I love this group. And as they age, and I can't give you a timeline, but you know, that they have trouble holding their bladders as long as they used to when they were younger. And like I say, I can't tell you what age that's going to happen. You will see. That's why potty routines are helpful, and understanding your dog's potty routine will be helpful for your seniors, because it helps them stay on their house training routine, even if they're having some cognitive decline. They do remember old routines as a senior, and if they're having cognitive decline, so they will remember old stuff. And it will help them not have accidents. It will reduce any stress that they may have. So if you have a senior and you're working outside the home and they can't hold it the whole day anymore, that's where you will want to consider somebody helping you there, and getting them out at the time. I know whenever I've had a senior, I started to learn how long they could hold it. And if we had to go out and it was during the time that I knew one of my seniors had to go to the bathroom, I had somebody come out and take them then, so that there were no house training failures right up until the end, unless there's health conditions contributing that. So, and I do continue intermittently reintroduce food rewards, so that they continue wanting to go outside to do that. So we can keep the seniors on the right track. And like I say, they do have a harder time holding it. So you do want to be careful. They are special, so special. This was one of my seniors. Anyway, and then we have special needs dogs. So we have blind or deaf dogs, and our communication has to be a little bit different with them. Actions speak louder than words. So with deaf and blind dogs, we need to use their other senses to learn about their world and to communicate with them. So communicating to our dogs to go outside for potty for a deaf dog can be just as easy as using words. We can use hand gestures. Dogs are really big, or animals are really big visual learners, so they're quite good at it. And we can use all kinds of different hand signals. Everybody should be on the same page for that. And we can use a thumbs up when we think that they're doing a great job. And then give them a cookie. For the dogs that are blind, we can have a spot on their body just to tap. and teach them that they did okay. And that's pretty easy to teach. So whatever part of the body that you choose, it has to be consistent and it can't be used for anything else. Where you touch them equals treat, you touch them equals treat. And that's how they learn that they're on the right track and the communication for that. So it's just the same as learning words. It's just, like I say, either visual for your deaf dogs and for your blind dogs, we can use, well, we can still use the verbals as well. So, but we can use touch. If you've got a deaf and blind dog, you can use touches for communication skills. So some troubleshooting, as I said before, if you're having issues, then writing down your dog's potty routine can be helpful. Go through the steps, and time of day, like I say, is a common one where dogs might have accidents, puppies. And here's what I look at, as I said, is when is your dog more active, morning or evening? This could be a trouble spot, and we can help with taking our dog out more during this time. Owners, children are waking up, owners are coming home, feeding, more play. And remember, this might be the time when you're really, really busy that you're not supervising as much. So those are two of the biggest problem areas that when I'm working with clients that I do see is their supervision and being aware of needing to get your dog out more often. So we want to create success. We don't want them to fail. So the more accidents they have inside, the harder it's going to be. And when you pay them to go to the bathroom outside, the learning is going to happen faster. It's like charging or say putting money in the bank. So if you are constantly putting money in the bank, at the end of a year, you're going to have lots of money. So I like to use that analogy. So what to do when your dog has an accident in the house? Nothing. So you know, sometimes you might catch them in the act and you can just say no and then leave them outside. If you don't catch them in the act, then it has no instructive value. Don't reprimand your dog. It's not instructive. Instead, go through your house training checklist and see what you may have missed. It's a crucial time. You know, time period to get your dog outside, or supervision, like I say, was not in place. And don't worry, just get back on track and think about what you might have missed, because often it's just us not helping our dog get out often enough, because really until they understand, we need to help them in making going to the bathroom outside. So we need to take them out often. And that's it for this webinar. So I hope you have found this useful. And if you have any questions, you can contact me. We've got our house training help for puppies and dogs Facebook group, and you're welcome to come on there and ask questions. If you're not on Facebook, you can contact me, walkaboutcanine@aol.com, and I'll be happy to help you if you're still struggling. So good luck with your puppy and enjoy.